It's Friday, and I'm back with the next in our Fanzine Friday series. Today we're taking a look at First Encounter number 7. Please stick around. I'm AZ Mountaineer. This is our channel, Old School Rules, where we celebrate the community of old school gamers and grognards who like classic RPGs, miniatures, magazines, and everything that goes with it. Each week on the Fanzine Friday series, I take a fanzine from my collection off the shelf for a closer look. Today, it's First Encounter number 7. Hope you enjoy the video. We're continuing our look at the fanzine created by Kelly Villemaire, and it's called First Encounter. It's the same size, they're all the same size. They're sort of 8.5 by 11 with a heavier stock cover, 11.5 by 17 pages folded in half and stapled through the middle. This is sort of a cream off-white color with two-color printing on the cover. And you can see there's a printed cover price there now. It's $2. The first few were free, and then it charged $1 on 5 and 6, and now on 7. It's $2, and they talk about that in here. And they say that the reason the cover price was increased was because they got rid of the advertising. I guess, more space printed content. But they also make a discussion in the editorial about how their competitors they think of as being Dragon Magazine, White Dwarf Magazine. I mean, advertising, if you're going to compete with those kind of magazines, it seems to me probably was a mistake to get rid of your advertisers. They had built up a really nice selection of advertisement in their fanzines, something most fanzines didn't have, which should have been, a decent source of revenue for them. So I'm not really sure. I think that's probably a tactical mistake. But as we'll see, Destiny had other plans. First Encounter only has one more issue, and then it's the end. One of the things that we'll note in this fanzine is the presence of John Frazer taking a leading role now in putting the fanzine together with lots of articles and content. And then Kelly announces he's going to focus on other things while John takes the laboring oar on producing First Encounter going forward. Somewhere in there, something went wrong because there's only one more issue after this. Okay, let's take a look at the cover. Love this cover art. Eric Hotz is still doing this, as well as Jon Denric provides some of the art this time around. And they give them both credit here for the cover, so I'm not really sure, who did what. The main art doesn't really look like Eric's style based on prior issue covers that he's done, so I'm not sure if all of the, this, I think it's like a barbed devil or an ice devil here in the front. And then we've got this guy rising up out of the flames. I'm not sure what that's about, doing battle with him. I've mentioned before that some of these issues have a bit of a theme. I'm not sure that this one has as clear of a theme, but there are some articles not about devils, but about who would be confronting them, which are the angels. So they discuss planar travel and have a group of lawful good I don't know if you'd call them monsters, but items that could have been in the monster manual that would be something that would fight against the lawful evil devils that are out there. Really cool art though. Here's our table of contents. We've got the editorial, some letters from people, taking the initiative, which is a discussion of a new idea of how to provide initiative, gamma rays, which is an article about some mutations for gamma world, more secondary skills from Kelly Villemaire, this time the Boyer Fletcher. I didn't have room for both words. Game reviews, video game reviews, Traders Far and Wide, which is for Traveler, Gun Gallery 3, which is for Top Secret. Kelly Villemaire has an article called A Look at Vampires, where he talks about different types of vampires you could have in your campaign with different skills and strengths and weaknesses. Soldiers of Mercy is the article that talks about angels. Archangels, lesser angels, greater angels that you could insert into your game. An in-depth look at Dungeons & Dragons is just a discussion about the game. In Plain Sight is an introductory article about the different planes and travel through the planes. For DMs only, some advice from Cameron Munn. Behind the Pearly Gates, a discussion about I think it's the Seven Heavens plane. He's going to have a different plane he discusses each issue. And then Have You Ever Played, which is the really unique thing that they have here in this fanzine. If you stick around to the end, I'll play through this. You can play through it with me and see if I'm able to survive. See if you're able to survive as well. I think so this is the 7th time I've tried, so I must be 1 success and 6 deaths. I've died a few times in some of these. They're kind of hard, but they're a lot of fun. So after I talk about the fanzine, if you stick around, then we'll play through that together. And this time it is, have you ever played a druid seeking revenge? So contributions from Kelly, Eric Hotz, who does art, John Frazer, who does some of these articles, Rod Mont, Doug Greening, Gary Harper, Cameron Munn, Oliver Thomas provide content, and Jon Denric does some of the art. So here's our editorial. As they say, short and sweet. It certainly is. And as I've already sort of mentioned, that they talk about the transfer to ask John Frazer to take a more leading role in producing this, and tell you direct your comments to him as well. In terms of the letters from folks, a couple of folks, one person wants some Gamma Word articles, and so here we go. Other people talk about how much they like it. Somebody wants some back issues, which Kelly says, like, look, I don't have any back issues, 1 through 4, completely gone. And then we get a sort of specific question where they're looking for some Game Master advice here. And he says, I wonder, could a low-level character end up with super exceptional ability scores, 20 to 25 range, like you see in D&Ds and Demigods? And I think Kelly correctly says, no, there's no way your player character without a wish or some other kind of magical item that raises your ability, there's no way you start off with stats like that. And he says, now, if you want to have a campaign where people play sort of superheroes, like somebody's Hercules and somebody else's Thor, I mean, you could do that if that's, if you think that's fun, but no, under the rules, there's no way for you to have those kind of abilities. I like this article, Taking the Initiative. It's Rod Mont and Doug Greening, and they're giving you some ideas from their home campaign. And they basically say that, a round is 10 segments long, and so they have people roll a D10, and whatever number you roll, that's the segment you go on. So it makes it and he does individual initiative, which he encourages rather than group initiative, all the one party and then the monsters or whatever. And he has some modifiers in there. He looks at weapon speed, and where he can have, I think it's up to 3. The slower weapons can add up to 3 to that number, which would push you into later segments. So he likes taking that into account. He likes to give you some type of bonus for good dexterity. 15, 16, maybe you lower it by 1. 17, 18, you lower it by 2. And again, 1 obviously is the lowest it can go. And then he also says sometimes, if you have a really high strength, you could make some type of modifications here. And then if you have people who have spell casting, this is kind of interesting. He's like, they roll D4, and that's which segment they start casting their spell. So it's definitely going to be in segments 1 through 4. And then however long it takes per the player's handbook for the spell to be cast, you add to that to go off. And then you're in danger, right, from whatever segment you start into the segment where you it goes off. If you get hit in there, it spoils your spell. He also has a nice, thoughtful thing that says if the combat round ends, or for whatever reason you change your mind, before you get to the segment when you start, you can choose not to cast, right? So let's say I'm going to cast Magic Missile. You're going to go to segment 4, segment 2, either the bad guy you were worried about is dead, or something else changes. You can say, I choose not to cast, and you don't lose the spell, which makes some sense. And then he has a different rule for people with multiple attacks, if you're a higher level fighter or whatever. And so you get 2 6-sided dice, and the first is the segment that your first attack goes off, and the second is added to that, with the idea that you might end up at the very end. And then he goes through just sort of some math. 3 attacks per round, use 4-sided dice. 4 attacks per round, use 3-sided dice, and so on, just to make the math work. And then if you're attacking with 2 weapons, he says you roll an 8-sided die to see when you attack with the first attack, and a 4-sided die that you add to it to see how many segments later you get your second attack off. Again, maximum, though, would have to be 10. I think it's a clever idea. I like the idea of maybe doing something with weapon speed to make people who choose usually faster, lower damage weapons get the advantage. Maybe get an attack off sooner. A little adjustment for dexterity is also nice. And I think the idea with how to use the magic user is also pretty good. So I give this one a real A+. All right, I don't play Gamma World, but I think it would be a really fun game to play. I've got a set of the rules. One of the key things about Gamma World, if you haven't read it, is you can have mutations. And so some of those are like, in the book it'll say it's up to the referee to decide. And so he's trying to flesh that out with a whole bunch of charts to give you specific things about how you end up mutated. Then we have this continuing series by Kelly Villemaire, where he takes that page in the Dungeon Master's Guide where you have some secondary skills, some that you learned before you became an adventurer. And this time it's the Bowyer Fletcher, so you can make bows and arrows, right? He talks about that. He gives you a little bit of. He combines his historical articles he would do where he would explain things a little bit with the skill. So he talks about bows and the different kind of wood you could use for bows and how the different materials you would use to make arrows, the different parts of arrows that you would use. And so you start off here in his system figuring out what type of bow you know how to make, right? Is it a long bow, and you know how to make short bows? Do you know how to also make composite bows, or do you know how to make all kinds of bows? And then the higher your roll, you move down the chart. If you're an elf, you get a +10. Other let's see, halflings get +5, half elves +4. If you have a carpenter skill, you get +4, and dwarves have -5. So apparently he thinks dwarves don't make bows. And then you give yourself and these are one-time rolls. So now you know what you've learned how to make, and then we figure out how good you are at it. Anywhere from you make a -1 bow because you're not very good, or three-fourths of the time, to you make normal bows. And then if you're anything else, good, excellent, or masterful in your talent, there's a percentage roll every time you make one. It might be normal, it might be +1 to hit. If you're a masterful, you also have a 2%, 4% chance to actually make a +2 to hit type of bow, just because of how well it's done. All right, and again, you get a little bit of a bonus if you're an elf. Same thing, you roll for how well you've learned how to make arrows. And again, once this is rolled, it never gets any better, right? Because this is just what you've learned before you start becoming an adventurer. So at the very end, low end, sometimes you make -1 to hit arrows because they're so bad, and you got normal, and you have chances, increased chance to actually make one that might be a +1 to hit. That's pretty cool. And then he has charts in here, depending on where you are, to see what kind of wood you're able to find. The base type of wood you find helps you with those rolls to see how good a bow you would make. Same thing for arrows. And then he's got a little information about different types of arrows, so we'll take a look at this. Remember, Eric Hotz does this art. So we've got regular arrows to use for combat. We've got armor-piercing arrowheads in here. You notice some of these are barbed, armor-piercing, some blunt arrowheads. This one that's got the little hooks on it here to be barbed so that it catches and it can't get, you can't really pull it out. And then you got some really funky ones here that I like. On the top left, these are where you'd put some type of incendiary in there to really catch the other guy's stuff on fire. Like if you had like Greek fire or something like that, you could put inside of the little opening. And then we've got some really clever ones here that would be used to shoot at rope, with the idea that you're trying to cut a piece of rope for strategic or tactical reasons. And at the bottom we have these really unique ones that have a hole in them so that they will whistle. And his idea is you would shoot these over the head of unsophisticated opponents, and he gets all these different chances based on who it is, that you might actually scare them and they might run away. All right, and then he's got some more art here, different types of bows, right? Short bow, long bow, composite short bow, and then different types of arrows with different type of arrowheads on the end as well. All right, so now I have our game review, and this is Gary Harper. He likes to look at Champions, the Heroes game, and he thinks it's really good. And then he looks at a video game called Swords and Serpents. So here's the original, Champions role-playing game. And then here is, because I looked this up for myself because I wanted to see what it looked like. Swords and Serpents, made by iMagic. This is an old Atari era in television. I can't remember which gaming system this was for. But, these are the graphics, which they thought were awesome, by the way. They thought this game was just awesome. Then we have one for Traveler. I never played that game, but I know it's a fantastic sci-fi One in this one, John Frazer wants to tell you about how you could have been a merchant. I think in Traveler you have some background skills and sort of former life right before the game starts, and so this is if you were going to be a merchant. And then we have John's gun gallery. This is number 3, where he draws and gives you stats for different types of firearms. This is for top secret. And then we have this really cool article by Kelly Villemaire, looking at vampires. And he says, basically from history, not history maybe, but from literature and mythology, we have different types of vampires you see. And he has 5 types. The human-looking, sort of handsome, high charisma one with a bald head and pointy ears, one that's has covered in fur, one that's sort of a burly, bearded man, and then a woman or female vampire. All right, so here's his first one. That's allegedly super handsome, by the way, and this is Denric's art. So here's the super handsome one, and for each of these, they have slightly different powers. This one, like, he can charm, climb surfaces, change into a bat, summon rats, bats, or wolves. And then it's like, what'll keep him at bay? Garlic, mirrors, lawful good holy symbols, or holy wafers. What'll kill him? Direct exposure to sunlight, stake in the heart, or running water. And what type of weapon does damage? Here's type 2. This is like the creepy Nosferatu, I guess, version. He calls it the Western type. And he says they're super ugly. They can charm. They also have a regeneration ability, shape change into large bats, and energy drain. And note that the first one didn't have the energy drain in Kelly's article. Garlic, mirrors, holy symbols, wafers, and a rooster, which is a really unique one here. If he hears a rooster crow, then he's apparently too close to sunlight and he'll die. That's crazy. Holy weapons +1 or holy water +1 or better weapons, or blessed weapons, which I thought is a creative idea with undead. If you bless a cleric's weapon, it could be, could do extra damage, or it could damage him. This is type 3, and it's interesting that they have this furry werewolf-looking creature. They're invisible, and so it says you don't see them until after they die. They become visible. So it's not clear to me if the invisibility, he has to keep turning himself invisible if he attacks, or he just stays invisible. But if he stayed invisible, that would be pretty freaking difficult. He's particularly susceptible to fire. He saves at -3 and takes double damage from it. Any fire type of attack does damage in any +1 weapon. And then this guy is super burly and with a beard, not as handsome. He can summon monsters. He can roar and cause fear, regenerate, assume gaseous form, and change also into the shape of a wolf. And he needs +2 weapons to hit for some reason. And then finally we have the Longseur, or Lilith, female, black hair all the way to her ankles. She can change into an owl, charm, suggestion, regenerate, sleep, +1 weapons to hit. And we have this comic, which I like quite a bit. It's actually an advertisement for a place called the Dragon's Lair. It's the adventures of Rick and Gary. And he says, hey, we're going to, what are we doing here? Highway robbery. He says, we can't afford the prices of our war games. He gets picked up by this dragon. And he says, hey, Rick, do you have a minute? The next article is Soldiers of Mercy. It's by John Frazer, and this is his article about the different angels that you could introduce into your game to be a lawful good counterweight to the lawful evil forces of the devils. He's got different ideas here, different abilities, of course. Archangels. Here, this guy is an angel lord. We've got the angel knights. Greater angels. This is the guy from the cover. When he has the ability of flight, and when he flies, his legs transform into sort of just a flaming trail from the waist down. Angel maidens, guardian angels, and those are the ones you might typically encounter. We also have these empaths and courier angels as well. It's really, flushed out ideas, and they have certain abilities that they can use every day. Everybody can cast things like cure disease, bless, invisibility, light, detect evil, remove fear, teleportation, detect magic, and cure wounds, and detect invisibility. And then they cast it based on their hierarchy. They cast at different levels, anywhere from a 5th level cleric to an 18th level cleric at the top. Okay. Here is Kelly's article. It's an in-depth look at Dungeons and Dragons, and really what it is, Kelly reviews a number of articles from the era of the Satanic Panic and talks about the different things people have said. And I think the fairest way to say it is sort of debunks some of that and points out some of the fallacies of those things, the incorrect factual statements that they made sometimes about Dungeons and Dragons. And I think his idea was to provide that sort of almost like an article you could read so you'd have a little bit better understanding in case somebody brought those issues up to you. Here is the In Plain Sight, where John Frazer talks a little bit about the different planes and what they look like and his concept of how to use those in your campaign. And then we have Cam Munn's article for DMs only. And so now he's going to talk about magic swords and how they work and what their different types of powers might be. And he said, here are the different types of powers that I want to talk about. Teleport, speech, light, detect traps, detect gems, detect magic, and detect secret doors. And he says that in his campaign, when swords are made, these various enchantments can be placed upon them in addition to the basic to hit bonuses. They might also have some type of a spell placed on there, and that are cast in there by the maker. So I think, always a good idea to have different characteristics of magic items, especially things that people maybe aren't expecting. And so I think these detect abilities, I'm not sure if you'd let them work at will. It seems a little too powerful, but maybe so many times a day would be pretty good. Light, now a lot of magic, DMs have magic swords that create light. Some always when you take them out of their scabbard, some only on command, some in the presence of certain other things. So that's pretty good. And I always think sometimes it's fun to have a magical weapon or other magic item with some type of intelligence and ego where it can communicate telepathically with the holder. Then we have a short article, Behind the Pearly Gates. Is supposed to be the first in a series where he talks about the different planes that you could travel to, and this is obviously he's taking you to the seven heavens, and he gives you a description of what he thinks that is like, the kind of people you can find there, which, as you know, because the tie-in are these archangels and other types of angels that he's described before. Then we have you ever played? In this case, it's a druid seeking revenge, and after we finish talking about the fanzine, we'll play through this one. At the very end, there's I think John Frazer has done these cartoons. And the first guy says, Gads, I hate having a dexterity of 3, so that's a druid who accidentally killed all the mistletoe. And then we've got this archer who says, Honest, Your Majesty, I didn't know it was loaded, because he shot him in the rump. Here is, at the back of the magazine, they advertised their annual, which they'd mentioned as well, and it was going to contain the best articles from the earliest issues of this fanzine or magazine. And I'm pretty sure it didn't come out. I've talked to some folks who've collected these, including up in Canada, and so far we haven't found anybody that has a copy. So if you have a copy, please put a comment down below, and I'll be interested to ask you some questions about what all's in there. Fanzine, First Encounter number 7. And this comes, I didn't mention, June of 1983. We only have one more that's going to come out in August, and that'll be the end of First Encounter. As I mentioned, I really think this fanzine is a step above. It's really well done. The articles are very thoughtful, and this Have You Ever Played I find to be a really great idea, very unique, and not something I'd seen before, and it's a hallmark of the First Encounter. Hope you all have enjoyed this discussion of the fanzine, and have a great week. And now we're going to, if you're sticking around, we're going to play our way through Have You Ever Played a Druid Seeking Revenge? Here we go. And for those who haven't done this before, get out a piece of paper. That's all you need, because you got to keep track of your hit points. And I'll explain how this works. Have you ever played a Druid Seeking Revenge by Kelly Villemaire? Here's your character. Your Kodor Thistlebush, neutral of course, level 11, 60 hit points, cloak +4 ring of protection +3, water skin, 2 vials of holy water, mistletoe, and your holy symbol. a sickle, a staff, a club. Strength 13, intelligence 14, wisdom 14, dexterity 11, constitution 15, charisma 16. Magic items, potion of speed, scroll, and hold animal. And then you have some spells. Entangle, fairy fire, pass without trace, shillelagh, I can't ever say that right, barkskin, and trip. In the shillelagh you have twice, barkskin 3, trip twice. 2, you can cast twice. Call lightning, cure disease, and tree. Control temperature 10-foot radius, hallucinatory forest, plant door, transmute rock to mud, wall of fire, and fire seeds. Note after changing form before going to the next encounter, you will reshape into normal form. You can change 3 times maximum. These are in every article. He says, this is a quiz designed to test your skills as a fantasy role player, test your knowledge of the AD&D rules, the monsters, the traps, the tricks, etc. This offers you an adventure through various caverns, rooms, or wherever you choose. In certain cases, and this is key, the best choice may be the one that minimizes the damage you take, but cannot prevent damage altogether. So some of the times you're always going to take damage, it's just how much. And test your ability to know the class characteristics, the racial characteristics, etc., as well as the monsters. And I think, right, the right way to play through this is you should not open any books. So you shouldn't go look up any monsters. You shouldn't go look up any spells. It's just going to, because again, it's sort of testing your knowledge of these things as you sit down to do it. All right. Oh, and looks like Oliver Thomas was the artist here who drew our druid. All right, folks, here we go. Your destination, the Segan Forest. Your quest to finally get greater mistletoe. You're well packed, though not heavily packed, and you check your map again. You must go over the hills to Mogg after first going through the Wren Forest and then to the Segan Forest where a great patch of mistletoe is to be found. You leave well equipped at midday. The sky is clear and sunny. It is quite hot and humid, around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. As you leave your home, your friendly birds flutter and chirp around you quite aimlessly. You trek through a well-known patch of the Wren Forest, which is a bit rough, but no time to complain when you're only a few hundred yards away from home. As you move on ahead, you whistle to cheer yourself up. When you hear a branch or twig snapping behind you, you quickly turn around, pull out your sickle, ready to strike your unsurprising foe, a wolf. Oh no, you think to yourself. It seems that your friend Messor wants to come with you as he frantically starts licking your hand. Knowing his past record of obstinance, you gladly welcome his company whether you want it or not. One thing about Messor you know is he will listen to your commands if danger presents itself, so tuck that away. As you proceed down the path with Messor, you both look at each other at the same time. Somehow you both sense a presence of someone or something. You put your hand on your sickle once again and keep walking, watching ever so carefully in the dense foliage that surrounds the path. At the same time, you try to concentrate on your footing while constantly cursing and looking at the brush. You look at Messor just as you both hear a loud screech and a grunt. He cocks his ears back, and you both try to detect the direction that the sound has come from. As you move on, you mentally try to put an image to that horrible sound previously heard. It's sounding something like a wild boar and some other creature's battle cries. Your thoughts are interrupted as Messor starts whining and motions in front of you. Appearing down the path are 2 were-boars, and from behind you, you see 2 more rushing out from the dense brush about 40 feet away. You attack the creatures in front of you with your silver sickle and have Messor defend the rear. Cast Entangle on the creatures in front of you and run past them with Messor at your side. Cast Hold Animal on creatures in front of you and run past them with a sickle in hand for defense. Cast Call Lightning on the creatures in the path and run by. Cast Barkskin on yourself, then attack them with the silver sickle, with Messor keeping the creatures in the rear at bay. Throw vials of holy water at the oncoming creatures and run by with a silver sickle in your hand. Cast Shillelagh on the club and attack them with Messor protecting the rear. Throw fire seeds at the oncoming creatures, then run by with a sickle in your hand. Cast Cure Disease on the oncoming creature, then attack the other one with your sickle while Messor defends the rear. Turn into an eagle and fly ahead, telling Messor to outrun them and meet you ahead. So one of the things I learned, I think last time, was to pay attention to how they describe the environment, right? So like in Tangle, there's got to be a presence of some kind of plants around. Cast Lightning, there's got to be a storm. We'll see if they hold to those rules this time. But they've talked about how much stuff is around, right? So I cast Entangle. So I think there's plenty of stuff around to wrap them up, and I will run past. All right, 60 hit points. Let's get ready here. Let's see what happens. If you attack them straight away, you take 34 hit points. Entangle is a great choice, no damage, and you outrun them. Hold Animal and run past. That doesn't work. You take 40 hit points. Call Lightning doesn't work. It's Sunny, 40 hit points. Bark Skin and attack. You kill them, take 30 hit points. Vile Holy Water doesn't help at all. They take 42 hit points. Shillelagh, kill them, take 28 hit points. Fire Seeds, you burn them up, no damage. Nice, kind of brutal. Cure Disease doesn't work, and they 42 hit points. Turn into an Eagle, fly away. Is fine. You get no damage. Okay. Next, you move on down the path with no other interruptions, well into dinner time. Dinner time, you think to yourself. What a lovely idea. You suggest to Messor to go look for some rabbits or something to eat while you look for some berries, agreeing to meet back in 10 minutes. You search for a while and spot a beautiful apple tree on the top of a small hill. You climb up the tree and start picking and eating. As you start to climb down, you're shocked to see 12 giant ants starting to climb up after you. What will you do? Throw some apples away from the tree to distract some. Attack any that stick around with your sickle and flee. Cast Bark Skin, then run while attacking with the sickle. Turn into an ant eater and start attacking them or eating them. Yeah, see, I don't think you'll be big. Cast Plant Door, then wait in the tree until they leave. Cast Entangle using the apple tree, then flee. Cast Shillelagh on the club and attack. Throw Fire Seeds at them, then flee. Cast Call Lightning on them and descend. Drink a potion of speed, run away. Hit them with the staff and stay in the tree. I will throw my Fire Seeds. Let's see what happens. All right, throw some apples away. Some of them leave, some of them stay, take 6 hit points. Cast Bark Skin. They attack, they bite, take 8 hit points. Turn into an anteater. Most of them run away, you only take 2 hit points. Cast Plant Door, wait them out. That works, no damage. Cast Entangle using the tree. That works, no damage. Cast Shillelagh on your club and attack. 2 hit points of damage. Fire Seeds kills many, others flee, no damage. Cast Call Lightning, doesn't work because it's sunny. Drink Potion of Speed, you run by, no damage. Hit him with a staff, stay in the tree, that'll work. 3 hit points of damage. So that's not a very bad encounter. Anyway, you cut it. All right. You get back to the trail, feeling much better after eating, travel well into sunset. The sky starts to get cloudy. You hope that the weather will permit your quest to be completed. As you start to leave the path into scattered forest patches near the hills of Mogg, you spot some large winged creatures coming over the horizon at fast speed. You hop into a nearby patch of wild roses and spy the winged creatures to in fact be 3 wyverns. You look for Messor and find he's not around. Out of the corner of your eye, you spot him near a large tree, spying on a chipmunk. You whisper to him to get the over into the cover before he is spotted by the now quite close for comfort creatures. Unfortunately, you are too late. You see the shadow fly overhead towards the now fearful wolf, followed by 2 other shadows. The first one is almost on top of poor Messor, and the others are halberd's length behind. When you complete your idea to cast Entangle, I don't know, they're up in the air, then flee, cast Call Lightning, attack immediately with your sickle, turn into a cave bear and attack, throw Fire Seeds and attack, drink a Potion of Speed, turn into a cave bear and attack, cast Control Temperature 10-foot radius, increase the highest temperature and attack with your sickle, Cast Wall of Fire in front of the wolf to protect him and flee. Throw 2 vials of holy water, attack with staff. So I'm going to use the Cloudy, and I'm going to cast Call Lightning. Let's see what happens. Entangle, that'll work, no damage. Call Lightning, that works, you fry them. Attack, you die. Turn into a cave bear and attack, you kill them but take 40 hit points. Throw Fire Seeds, you hurt them but take 27 hit points. Drink a Potion of Speed, turn into cave bear and attack them, you kill them but take 14 hit points. Control Temperature, 2 of them leave, 1 stays, 10 hit points. Wall of Fire, they fly away. And throw holy water on them, that is nothing, and you get killed. Alright. You finally see the beginning of the hills of Malg when darkness really sets in the sky. You proceed ahead on a very rough trail made of rock. You light a torch and notice no trees or bush around, no entangle. Along the path every now and then are sticks in the ground with skulls of boars on top of them. You recognize these as hill giant markings from your teachings in the past. They evidently used these instead of fences to mark their lots. Funny thing, though, is that these ones were not spoken about to you by any of the local mappers. You hope there is a mistake and move on, only to be almost hit by a large boulder obviously tossed from a hill to your right. You see at the top of the hill a giant. Beside him, a large club and a giant lizard. You recognize his tongue as he speaks to you. He tells you that if you want to cross his land, you must defeat his champion lizard in battle. You try appealing to his senses, stating your quest, but he just laughs and signals the lizard to proceed. You tell Mesor to move back, and you cast Call Lightning, attack it with your sickle, cast Barkskin and attack with your staff, turn into an ape and attack it. As it runs down the hill towards you, cast Trip, then run and attack with a sickle. Cast Control Temperature 10-foot radius to fry it as you attack with the sickle. Throw Fire Seeds, attack with the sickle. Cast Transmute Rock to Mud, rush and attack it. Cast Wall of Fire in front of you, attack if it's still alive, or cast Shillelagh on your club and attack. So I will try Control Temperature. Let's see what happens. Call Lightning. Oh, it's apparently still cloudy. It fries it and giant runs away. Attack with the sickle, 10 hit points of damage. Barkskin, 14 hit points of damage. Turn into an ape, 6 hit points of damage. Cast Trip. Oh, it works. You kill it. Control Temperature. Take 2 hit points of damage. That's me. Throw Fire Seed. You kill it, no damage. Transmute Rock to Mud lets you go first. You only take 2 hit points. Wall of Fire kills, no damage, and the giant runs away. And Shillelagh, you kill it, but you take 8 hit points of damage. After the giant has abruptly left, although a bit angry, you move on through the hills, ignoring the land symbols. You have no more encounters all the way to your destination, near the spot in the Segan Forest where the mistletoe patch is. You thank Mesor for traveling with you, and as you like your solitude, you tell him he can go back home. You move on ahead to where the patch is, only to find it is dead, with only withered up plant in the place. It seems someone or something sat on it and ate the berries. There are a large set of tracks leaving the area, and after all you've been through, revenge must be made. You detect that the creature you are following flies for the simple fact that every now and then the tracks disappear and reappear many yards away. The tracks are quite huge, and they lead to the forest edge near the Colin Path. As you proceed, you see your culprit, and just then you ponder if revenge is such a good idea, for hovering just above the brush above you is a large green dragon. It carelessly flies very slowly, and then it moves as if looking for something. As he quickly turns towards you, you realize it has smelled you. You will quickly cast Hallucinatory Forest and wait in it. Cast Hallucinatory Forest and wait till it leaves, then you pass without a trace. Cast Barkskin and attack with a sickle. Cast Entangle when it's near the brush and run away. Cast Control Temperature, 10-foot radius to fry it. Cast Call Lightning. Cast Plant Door, wait in a tree till it leaves. Hide behind a tree and then hide in the shadows. Turn into a frog and hide near a tree. or it comes near you, cast Wall of Fire. That's a great question. Okay, I am not sure what to do here. It says you can smell me, so I don't know if I need to pass that trace, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and turn into a frog with the hope that I won't smell anymore. Let's see if I get killed here. Chances are good. Okay, let's see. Hallucinatory Forest. He attacks and kills you. Hallucinatory Forest. He doesn't pass out a trace. Works, but then he just gasses you and you get chlorine gassed. Bark Spin. He poison gases you. Entangle works. That's crazy. Control Temperature. You kill it. Take 10 hit points of damage. Kelly loves this control temperature thing. I got to get back and read up on that in the player's handbook. Call Lightning kills it. Plant Door. Hide works. Hide behind a tree and then hide some shadows. That works. That's incredible. Turn into a frog and hide. That works. Wall of Fire and kill it. That works. All right. A lot of good options there. After that encounter, you decide to go back home and try another night at another location where mistletoe might be. You travel through the Segan forest quite peeved about what that dragon had done to the mistletoe bush. And now, of all times, you slowly walk through the dense foliage when the usual noise of crickets, owls, and so forth is interrupted by a loud whining noise. The whine of something hurt. You listen again and follow the sound to a small clearing where you see poor Messor, but tied up on a spit, alive but beaten. Around him are two minotaurs that seem to be talking to each other while pointing at Messor. They stop talking, their nostrils flare, and abruptly turn towards you. They've caught your scent. Turn into a cave bear and attack. Attack with your sickle. Cast Call Lightning. Cast Barkskin. Throw Fire Seeds. Cast Fairy Fire, then Shillelagh and attack. Cast Wall of Fire as they near and fry them. Cast Trip, then rush in and attack. Take out holy water and throw it at them. That won't do anything. Drink Potion of Speed and attack. Well, these guys have attacked poor Messor, and so I will cast Wall of Fire. Let's see what happens. Cave Bear. Killed them, take 8 hit points. Attack with your sickle. You kill them, but take 20 hit points. Call Lightning kills them. Barkskin. Kill them, 13 hit points. Fire Seeds. Take 4 hit points. Fairy Fire Shillelagh. You kill them, 10 hit points. Wall of Fire. You kill them, no damage. Cast Trip and attack. 2 lucky shots, no damage. That's pretty good. Holy Water does nothing. You take 29 hit points of damage. Potion of Speed, you take 6 hit points of damage. All right. As they are wounded, they start bellowing loudly. You realize there must be more around, so you quickly untie Messor, carry him, and start running. Soon you hear heavy steps behind you, about a couple 100 feet away, but definitely more minotaurs by the sound of branches being busted behind you. You see by the light of the moon that 3 more are on your trail. You cast Entangle and keep running. Cast Hold Animal and run. Sit in the shadows, and when they approach, cast Wall of Fire. Throw Fire Seeds. Cast Fairy Fire and attack. Sit back and cast Call Lightning. Turn into a jaguar and attack them. Cast Barkskin and attack them. Cast Shillelagh and attack them. Cast Trip and attack them. Cast Plant Door. Go into a tree. Leave Messor outside. If they get close, attack, or attack immediately. I will cast Entangle. That works. No damage. You get away. Hold Animal does not work. They catch. They attack. 20 hit points before you kill them. Hide in the shower. Cast Wall of Fire. That'll work if you hadn't done it already. Cast Fairy Fire and attack. That helps. Take 12 hit points. Hide in the shadows, cast Call Lightning. That works, no damage. Turn to Jaguar and attack. That's good, only 2 hit points. Barkskin and attack. That take 10 hit points. Shillelagh and attack. Take 9 hit points. Cast Trip and attack. They catch 18 hit points. Plant Door. They smell you out, so you have to pop back out and take 15 hit points. Or attack immediately. That'll work, no damage. That's crazy. All right. After you leave the Minotaurs, you move on again. You estimate the time to be about 3 hours before midnight, the temperature about 60 degrees. Quite hot, you think. I don't know about that. You're quite tired and hungry, so you decide to stop for a quick rest under the cover of a tree. Messor is quite tired too. Quickly he falls asleep. The poor little guy, you think to yourself, almost becoming Minotaur dinner. What a frightening thought. Then you think to yourself, that's it, Trop. You see, Trop is the name centaurs give to wolves, and you just remember you are near the Isla Centaur colony. You decide to rest for a bit longer and then to move on to the colony right away. Unfortunately, rest turns into deep slumber, and somehow, to your luck, you awake and find yourself tangled in something. You don't see Messor nearby, and as you look around, you notice a large spider lowering down from the tree branch that was above where you slept. Beside him is a large wrapped form, obviously poor Messor. Those mandibles do not look useless as it approaches, although you are quite tangled up, you will. Pull out holy water, throw at it and attack. Throw fire seeds at it. Cast barkskin and attack with a sickle. Cast shillelagh and attack. Cast fairy fire and attack with a sickle. Cast entangle on the spider and kill it. Immediately attack with a sickle. Drink potion of speed, attack with your sickle. Or cast hold animal and attack with your sickle. I will try hold animal. Holy water doesn't do any good, 18 hit points. Fire seed kills it. Barkskin, that helps, 8 hit points. Shillelagh, that 8 hit points. Fairy fire, 9 hit points. Entangle, that works, no damage. Attack with the sickle, 10 hit points. Potion of speed and attack, no damage. Hold animal does not work, 18 hit points. Rats. I wondered whether the spider is going to count as an animal. I guess not. You untie Messor to find he's been bitten. You decide that the sooner you can get out of the forest at night, the better. You run as fast as you can with poor Messor unconscious in your arms. You come to the hills of Mogg, but instead of going south towards your home, you go west towards Isla where Messor could get help. Unfortunately, you must pass the battlefield of Islavin, a place known for undead occupants, but Messor's life is at stake, so on you run. This field is where the centaurs fought back the undead from returning to kill more. There was a battle many years ago between men and goblins. Many men died. Throughout this featureless field, there are many skulls and dismembered skeleton bodies. You see, some of the fighters from long ago were almost totally dismembered during the battle by those vicious goblins, and giving a total decent burial was almost impossible, so they say. Many bodies were left still scattered on the field. The centaurs fought many restless years later, giving many remains a decent burial. Thus, the undead status was revoked. Animals still sense the evil in the area and do not pick at the old remains, nor do they come within the area. As you are in the middle of the field, you feel an odd feeling inside, and suddenly the ground breaks in front of you, and to your horrified view, out climb 3 skeleton fighters clad in plate mail, with one equipped with a halberd, the second a scimitar, and the third a glaive. They begin to run towards you, turn into a tiger and attack. 2 vials of holy water, throw it at them and attack. Potion of speed and attack. Attack with your staff, throw fire seeds, cast trip, attack with the sickle, cast barkskin, attack with the staff, cast call lightning, cast fairy fire, attack with the staff, cast wall of fire, cast control temperature and fry them while attacking. Interesting. I'm not sure the fire does damage to skeletons. That's a good question. So I will do the holy water. Let's see what happens here. All right, tiger attack, 8 hit points. Holy water does some damage. You take 3 hit points. Potion of speed attack, no damage. Attack with your staff, no damage. Oh yeah, you're supposed to remember the blunt weapons, aren't you? Fire seeds, we've already used that. Good choice, 3 hit points. Trip, they break on impact and fall. Barkskin, good choice, 1 hit point. Call lightning kills them. Fairy fire, you take 5 hit points. Wall of fire, no damage. And control temperature, 2 hit points of damage. Okay. After quickly leaving the skeletons, you run and bump into a large stone building and decide to enter to rest. You lay down the limp body of Messlor and catch your breath. You light a torch, let your eyes adjust for a while. You look around. You see much scribbling on the walls and again more skeletons on the floor. To play it safe, you step on them and separate the pieces. All this while thinking and chuckling about the well-known quote, "It is better to nip it in the bud before anything develops." You disgust yourself thinking about that old Druidic joke at a time like this. Your thoughts are again interrupted by a noise, and behind you, about 20 feet away, you see a mummy moving towards you ever so slowly. Holy burp, 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 burp. Where did that come from? You curse yourself for being caught unawares again. The creature slowly moves towards you, hand extended. You put Messlor over your shoulder and present your holy symbol strongly and back out. I don't think druids can turn undead. Throw fire seeds, then attack with a torch and a sickle. Cast Barkskin, attack with a torch in one hand, sickle to parry. Cast Shillelagh and attack. Throw 2 vials of holy water and attack with a torch using the sickle to parry. What holy water do I have? 2 vials. I think I used that then already, right, didn't I? Turn into a black bear and attack it. Turn into a mule, kick it into the room, pick up Messlor and run. I love that. Attack with the sickle. Cast control temperature 10 foot. Heat it up. Attack with the sickle. Cast cure disease. Attack with the sickle. Cast fairy fire. Attack with the torch. Drink a potion of speed. Attack with the torch. I use this potion of speed. Attack with the torch, use the sickle to parry. I think I need to burn this guy up. Let's see what happens here. Alright. Holy symbol doesn't work, you're not a cleric, he kills you. Throw fire seeds, good choice, 3 hit points of damage. Bark skin, good choice, 8 hit points of damage. Shillelagh, 10 hit points of damage. 2 vials of holy water. Attack with the torch, 3 hit points of damage. Black bear, destroy it, 8 hit points of damage. Turn into the mule, works, that's awesome. No damage. Attack with the sickle, it kills you. Control temperature, 8 hit points of damage. Okay, your disease doesn't do anything, it kills you. Fairy fire and attack, 5 hit points of damage. And potion of speed attack, 1 hit point of damage. Okay. You quickly leave the crypt and get to the centaur camp half an hour later. There you estimate for a few hours. You rest for a few hours while the centaurs use healing potions on your canine friend. Resting in their hut made of foliage, you awaken to a wet feeling on your nose. You open your eyes and see Messlor is happily licking you. He's not as spunky as usual, but is looking a lot better. The chief centaur, Mara, enters and tells you in his usual monotone voice that you must leave right away. The wolf can stay for a day or 2 longer. It seems they prefer wolves to men here. Centaurs, you see, are friendly, but not too friendly. Taking the hint, you thank him and tell him you will leave now. Before you leave, he gives you a wooden mug with some green liquid. He tells you to drink it, all the while laughing. It tastes horrible, but you know it's their medicine. These creatures really care in their own way. This cures 10 hit points or disease if you were touched by the mummy. You go on your way with a map and more torches from Mara. The map shows you how to avoid the battlefield of Islavan and to cross the small river of Stanu, then go southeast towards your home. Then through the Wren Forest. When you reach the river, you laugh as you see it is only a creek. It's 25 feet wide, 2 feet deep. Weeds and tall grass outline the banks. The water is crystal clear. Even though it is still pretty dark out, you can see the bottom perfectly, for the rocks on the bottom are glowing. The rocks on the bottom are glowing a greenish color. I don't like the sound of that. I'm always afraid of green slime. You start crossing when you spot some snake-like creatures that appear out of the weeds 20 feet away. They are eels. They're coming towards you fast. You cast Barkskin and attack. Cast Hold Animal, attack. Turn into a crocodile and attack. These things are probably going to zap me. Turn into a duck and fly away, which causes you to leave behind your sickle, staff, and equipment. Well, that's the first time they said that. Attack with your bare hands. Cast Entangle on the eels using the weeds. Well, I like that idea. I've already used my spell, though. Although I rested, so technically I should get that back, but I'm not sure if that's how this works. Cast Control Temperature and lower the temperature to try and slow them down. Cast Call Lightning. Well, you're standing in the water, so that's not a great idea. Cast Shillelagh and attack with your club. Attack with your sickle. Well, I'm not going to leave my equipment, otherwise I'd turn into a duck. Let's look here. All right. Yes, apparently I didn't rest long enough to get my spells back. I've already used a lot of this stuff. So really the only thing I haven't used is Bark Skin and my Shillelagh spell. So I will cast Bark Skin. Let's see what happens. Holy crapsicle. 42 hit points of electrical damage. Hold animal doesn't work. They electrocute you and die. Crocodile attack, 48 hit points. Duck and fly away, but now you've lost everything. Attack with bare hands, you get electrocuted. Entangle works, no damage. That would have been my first choice if I still had the spell. Control temperature, that works. They don't like the cold water. Call lightning fries them and doesn't do any damage to you. That doesn't seem right. Shillelagh helps, but 42 hit points of electrical damage. Man, these things are like the toughest thing ever. They're the toughest opponent in the whole freaking town. All right. You travel through the Ren Forest near the end of the hills of Mog, quite fatigued. It's almost dawn of the next day. The sky's clear, the day is cool. You pass a bush, you hear a rustling noise, and you quietly move in front of it. You shoot back aghast at what you see. The creature with the body of an eagle and the head of a deer was biting out the heart of a dead human. From the looks of him, he used to be a bandit. You turn and flee, only to hear the flapping of wings behind you. You turn and see the thing hovering above the bush. It slowly and hesitantly approaches you. Cast Shillelagh and attack. Throw Holy Water and attack. Cast Call Lightning and attack. Cast Tree and wait till it leaves. Cast Entangle and flee. Turn into a wolf and attack. Cast Bark Skin, then attack with a sickle. Cast Hallucinatory Forest and hide. Cast Plant Door, wait for it to leave. Run into the bush and cast Pass Without a Trace. Wall of Fire, Potion of Speed, throw Fire Seeds, cast Hold Animal, or attack with your bare hands. I will try Plant Door. Let's see what happens. All right. Shillelagh, 5 hit points. 2 vials of Holy Water attack, no good, you get killed. Call Lightning kills it. Tree and wait, that works, no damage. Entangle works. Turn into wolf and attack, you get killed. Bark Skin and attack with a sickle, you get killed. Hallucinatory Forest, that works. Plant Door works. Pass Without a Trace works. Wall of Fire kills it. Potion of Speed helps, but you still take 48 hit points. Wow. You need magical weapon. Oh, because you need magic weapons. Fire Seeds works. It runs away. Hold Animal doesn't work. I don't know what that does work on. Or attack with your bare hands, you get killed. After the weird encounter, you stick with the path all the way home, sit in your favorite chair and think to yourself, borrowed mistletoe isn't bad, and it'll have to do for now anyways. And that is it for Have You Ever Played a Druid Seeking Revenge? I survived. It's my second time, so now I am 2 survivals and 5 deaths. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hope you enjoyed the Have You Ever, and hope you're enjoying the first encounter series we're working our way through. Have a great weekend. Until next time, my friends, keep rolling 20s.